welcome to this week's edition of Conquering Retirement. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley, and joining me in the studio are two financial advisors from Northern Alliance Financial serving the great state of Maine. We have Peter Hansen and Derek Huot. Peter, Derek, always a joy to be with both of you. How are you this week?
I'm doing great.
Good.
How about you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Peter, how about yourself?
It's great. I think this is the 5th week in a row that we're seeing you.
Yes,
it feels that way anyway.
I know, and I've really enjoyed my time with you as I always do, and I really appreciate just the care and compassion that you bring to the table and to financial planning and really helping people succeed in retirement. That's what this show is all about. And the title of the show, Conquering Retirement, also ties really well into the book that was written by your CEO. Right. It's called Conquering Retirement, Reduce Threats, Maximize Income, and Live Worry-Free. That's what it's really all about, isn't it?
That's right. That's the ultimate goal. Mm-hmm. You know, everyone has a concern. How is my retirement going to be? Everybody has an image as to what they think their retirement's going to look like.
Yes.
Well, there's ways to facilitate that. Mm-hmm. The more money you have, the more options you have, but more so than money, the better plan you have, the more structure you have put to your retirement, put to your retirement, the better options you have, the better plan you're going to have. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and share a little bit about your CEO for viewers who are newer to us about why this title came to be and why this is such an appropriate way to describe what you all are doing day in and day out.
Yeah, so the book, Conquering Retirement, was written by our CEO, Lance Gilman, who is another fiduciary advisor, obviously, with our firm, and the CEO. He's also a retired lieutenant colonel. And so he draws comparisons to battlefield preparation and things that he's actually experienced to retiring in some of the pitfalls and ways to get ahead of them in retirement. It's a great book, and that's why we offer it. He wrote this specifically for what we do.
Right.
So folks can use that as sort of a roadmap. I mean, it educates you. It's well written. And that's why we're offering it to folks today.
You know, I was rereading a certain section last night, and I was really gripped by how he starts off right out the gate talking about serving overseas in the 90s and Desert Storm and where he was and what that was like and the importance of being proactive. And it really is a beautiful illustration of heading into retirement and being proactive and being able to have a solid plan in place so that you can mitigate those risks and those threats that do exist.
Yeah. He also talks about having a plan A, a plan B, and he uses comparisons in this book about how plans don't always go as planned, and you need to have backup plans, contingency plans in case that happens. And so, and that's really, you know, what we're trying to do with folks as well. You know, I often say, if you don't have a plan, we'll help you put a plan together, but there will be changes to the plan.
Yes.
So for some, they might be more often than others, but there will be changes, and we need to reassess if the plan is in your best interest too.
Right. Yep.
Periodically, we need to sit down. We need to run through your budget again. We need to look at how your account has done or your accounts have done, and then really assess if you're still in the best plan possible or if we need to make some adjustments because, you know, life is full of curveballs. And, you know, I've said before, there's things that you can't control. And I can't guarantee that we can get ahead of every curveball, but I can guarantee there will be curveballs. And so we want to plan accordingly so we can try to adjust when needed.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to start off today's conversation by talking about the reality that for today's modern retiree, it is not your parents, it is not your grandparents' retirement anymore. The landscape of retirement has really changed, and there's a lot of concerns that come with that. So let's talk about that. What comes to top of your mind when you think about, yeah, retirement is not what it used to be for folks?
I've seen it firsthand. I'm the youngest of 5 kids. I grew up in Biddeford. My parents are retired bankers. And my father's turning 90 this summer.
Wow.
My mom's 87. Their retirement is completely different than what my brothers and sisters in or mine will be like. They both had pensions, you know, that they could rely on. They weren't necessarily thinking about contributing to the retirement other than the savings that they had, the equity in their home stuff. But there was a plan from Social Security and a decent pension that would take care of them. Not many people have that pension anymore. Now, you know, Wall Street is convinced the employers that the easier way to go about it is through the 401k and 403b and you know, employee sponsored plans. So now the onus and a lot more obligation on the retiree to take care of that ahead of time. That's why we're out in front of them.
And people were given those plans with no instruction manuals of how to do it, right? That's the problem. Yeah.
You know, I had another viewer come in a while back, and you know, they wanted to see if they were in good shape. They wanted a second opinion.
So smart to do, by the way.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we looked at everything, and they really didn't have much in the way of assets. But what they did have was multiple pensions. I mean, many pensions that were going to pay out for the rest of their lives. They had 2 or 3 different jobs that had pensions. It was the most pensions I'd ever seen with a person coming in. And they said, I know we didn't do well. And I said, listen, first of all, they have no debt. They didn't have a ton of assets outside of the pensions, but the pensions were more than sufficient for the expenses they had. I mean, more than sufficient. They had a lot of money left over. I said, I would much rather be in your situation. You know, we don't have to worry about trying to make the other assets work for you and give you pensions from those and, you know, outliving those. You're never going to outlive this money. So although we weren't able to help them because there wasn't anything to help, you know, it was a good situation to be in. And it's not something we see as often because, as we say, a lot of folks are grandfathered in to some of these older plans that offer pensions, Maine Health, and there's the shipyard here in Maine. But there's a lot of companies that have done away with it, and like you said, they put the onus on the employee to do it themselves. And if they were late to the game, then there's a lot of catch-up they need to do as well.
That example is extremely rare. We do see that once in a while. When the people do have a pension, of course, we're going to go ahead and make a plan for that. But the majority, the vast majority of people that are coming in, you know, they have their Social Security, and they've got this chunk of asset that needs to be addressed so that we can go ahead and make a plan for them. But they need help doing it because, like you said, there was no instruction manual with that 401k or 403b. How do you create a distribution plan from that?
Exactly. I think another huge change, which, you know, I love putting it in this term because I think it really helps folks understand the gravity of the situation of why today's retirement landscape is so different. Back when folks were retiring, our grandparents, for example, life expectancy was not that long. So a lot of times folks worked till age 62, Social Security would kick in, they'd pass away as early as age 65, right? There wasn't this time horizon to plan for. If you think about it now, folks are easily living 20, 30, up to 40 years in retirement. That's an entire working career time span, right? And you've seen that.
Yeah, we see it. I mean, my father retired from the bank, I think, when he was 65. Then he went out and worked another 20 years for the census as a retirement job. And he's still kicking. He still wakes up every morning, has a normal day. People are definitely living longer. Now they have more things to think about, though. They have longevity risk. They have health care that they have to consider. The longer they live, the more money they're going to need or insurance products to go ahead and take care of the health care. There's a whole list of products of things that they need to think of that people didn't used to have to concern themselves with.
Right.
Sometimes people think they have a plan, and then when you really go through it, it's really not a good plan. And so if you think you have a plan, let us go through it and at least analyze it and make sure that we can, you know, we're on the same page. With the expertise that we have, we can look through it and just make sure that we agree with you. You know, because the problem is if you have a plan that's not well and it carries you through, you know, a good amount of the years, you know, let's say you're 80, 85 years old and you happen to live past 90, but at 85, you run out of money. There's nothing you can do at that point. And you're not going back to work. And so we need to get ahead of things and make sure we have something in place where that doesn't happen.
Right. Yep. And that's why it talks about having a battle plan, right? Or as you said, plan A, plan B, plan C for however this shakes out for folks. You know, you mentioned a lot of people think that they have a plan. I've always said that a pile of statements, that's not your plan. Your statements are your retirement accounts, and those are very important parts of the plan, but they are not the plan in and of themselves. So when you all talk about having a written financial plan, what are you really saying with that, what that looks like?
Well, more than likely, the written financial plan will be a consolidation. We'd say, let's consolidate an awful lot of this. You can still be diversified and spread out, but be under one roof with one set of advisors taking care of all of that. But a written financial plan is going to foresee market downturns. A written financial plan is going to forecast that there's going to be some unexpected hurdles that are going to happen. So you want a plan that has contingencies for a market downturn. If somebody's 65, I would guarantee there's going to be another 3 substantial market downturns within their lifetime. Wouldn't it be nice to know that when that happens, you said that this would happen, Pete and Derek, and this is exactly what we put in place to go ahead and mitigate that downturn.
Right, so that they don't have to suffer the large losses that come with those downturns, right?
That will happen.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So we have to plan for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, if someone's watching today and going, you know what, I could really benefit from having a solid plan. Maybe now you're asking yourself, do I really have a plan? You know, I think sometimes folks are hoping, right? I hope I don't run out of money. That's not a plan. That's a strategy of hope. We want you to have a solid plan in place. So what would you say to someone watching who's in need of that?
Absolutely. For the folks watching today, if you have a plan and you want a second opinion, give us a call. If you don't have a plan and you want us to start to put one together for you, give us a call. We would have you come in for an initial consultation. There is no cost associated with that. what we would do is have you bring in your statements. We would have you work up a budget. We'd get your Social Security statements, because Social Security is a big piece as well. And we would start to formulate something for you. From there, we would book a second appointment. That would be to go over everything. I mentioned on a previous show, the first appointment is not an appointment where you come in and we start to make recommendations after 20 to 30 minutes of barely knowing you or knowing your plan. We want to know as much as possible, so we're going to educate ourselves. And on that second appointment, if we can put a plan in place and help you, and it's beneficial to you, we'll talk to you about that. And if you'd like to work with us, we would talk to you about what that would look like in the future. So there is no cost. Give us a call. We're happy to help.
Wonderful. Derek, Peter, thank you so much. I'm excited to continue today's conversation with you. And for our viewers at home, that number to call to schedule your complimentary written financial plan appointment is there on the bottom of your screen, 877-241-7430. Or if you have your smartphone handy, we invite you, you can connect that way as well. Simply pull it out. You can open up the camera app, point, click, and scan the QR code that you see there down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. That will take you over to a landing page, ask you a few short, simple questions, and then a member of the team from Northern Alliance Financial will reach out to connect with you to schedule your complimentary visit that way as well. And when you come in, you're also going to receive your very own complimentary copy of Lance Gilman's book, Conquering Retirement. Stay with us. We'll be back right after this.
Our team at Northern Alliance is very diverse in terms of the services that we offer.
We do take a team-based approach.
We carry multiple licenses so that clients can do everything within the Northern Alliance financial team.
If it has anything to do with retirement, that's what we specialize in.
Budget planning, tax considerations, Social Security strategies, risk management, long-term care, Medicare, health planning, as well as legal and estate planning.
We really are a one-stop shop.
There's Lance Gilman, Peter Hansen, Jeremy Barnard, myself. We do have a staff that is great.
In Maine, we have multiple locations to cover the vast array of the state.
You can come in and have a conversation in person. And a lot of people are looking for these days. Things after COVID have changed to more Zoom, phone call sort of things. And we'll do those things, but we appreciate and would rather have you come in person and have a conversation face to face like this.
We're pretty approachable, and we're going to listen to you. We're going to try to determine what your needs, your aspirations, those goals are, and then we're going to do everything that we possibly can to help you meet those goals.
It's lighthearted, it's carefree. We laugh like crazy. An atmosphere that I don't think is common in a lot of other practices.
We were talking about how well the team is bonding together, how similarly we all think in that what we do, we want to actually make a difference.
Average, everyday people helping average, everyday people.
We truly do put the client first.
Our mantra has been, when you take care of people, people take care of you.
Welcome back, Maine. You're watching Conquering Retirement. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley, here with both Peter Hansen and Derek Huot, financial advisors with Northern Alliance Financial, serving the great state of Maine. And a really fabulous conversation we're having today, guys, about the fact that today's modern retiree, it's not the same retirement that our parents, grandparents have been through. I want to ask specifically about inflation, because obviously that's on the top of everyone's minds, especially during the last couple of years. I mean, we say this on the show before, but you just have to go to the grocery store or go get gas at the pump and it's staring you smack in the face. But it's been said that inflation is not an equal opportunity offender. Peter, why is that statement being said? What does it actually mean?
I heard you say that before, but we haven't talked about this, so I'm not exactly sure what that means. But how I would interpret that is when you're employed and you're working and inflation is on the rise, there's a chance that even though things are costing more, your employer might give you a cost of living adjustment on what you're making.
Right.
But for somebody that's retired and doesn't have that defined income other than what they're drawing down from their assets, that's going to affect them much more.
Right.
Because the groceries cost more, but how are they going to inflate their income when in fact they're not working for an employer anymore?
Right.
Yeah.
So
is that what that means?
Well, I think
I would agree that that's, I mean, inflation is going to affect, and nobody likes inflation and having to pay more for things.
Course.
But for those that have the money, they don't like having to do that, but they can afford to. It's for the folks that really don't, that are living on a
fixed income,
month-to-month fixed income, and inflation is going to affect them significantly more. And they're going to have to make decisions. Do I, can I spend money on my grocery bill, or am I going to cut, my phone this month? I mean, those are things that folks that have assets don't have to worry about as much. They're just going to end up having to run through their money quicker and possibly outlive it, which is a whole nother situation. But
Right.
it's going to affect those that don't have much to begin with.
For sure. Well,
Yeah.
I think absolutely everything you guys have said, I totally agree with. It's interesting, this article I read that used this phrasing was actually also referring to the fact of people who do have assets, who are in retirement, who want to do things like finally take the big trip, go overseas. Well, look at what's costing even more. What's been inflated the most?
Oh, gosh.
Flights. Travel, right? I mean, some of those things that are really...
everything that you do that you want to do when you're retired.
Right.
Because now you have the time to spend to do all those things that you want to do and actually live your life. Yeah, the bucket list.
I think COVID too, what it's really done is it's a lot of folks are spending more instead of stuff. They're spending more on, going on vacations.
Experiences.
And experiences.
Yes.
And because of COVID, that's really changed the atmosphere. And
Right.
so, yes, you're right. Flights, airlines, hotels, those things have just gone through the roof. And those are much higher than what the numbers are saying.
Yep.
The
Hotels,
government
all
uses
that stuff,
the
right?
CPI index, and that has some truth to it, but there's a lot more into it, and the numbers are a little bit higher depending on what you do.
Right. And I think, it's interesting, a lot of folks, we've talked on previous shows about the importance of building an income plan. And in the absence of having an income plan, usually one of two things happens. Either folks are overspending, which then puts them at risk of running out of money, or I think equally as tragic, it's when people first retire and they still have good physical health and they are so excited to go do the things that they want to do, but they don't because they are afraid of spending any money because they're not confident it's going to last them the rest of their lives.
Yeah, we see both of that. We also see people that have the honest to go ahead and do all sorts of things right now, and with a chance of running out of money. And then we live in the southern Maine area where a lot of people are used to saving, and they don't know how to spend when they're in
Right.
retirement. So we have both.
Yeah.
Therefore, one of the first things we talk about is budgeting. And most people have an idea as to how much they spend, but we really want to create a budget as to, okay, in this year, coming up, you will want to be spending this much, and then you're going to get older, and how much is your Medicare Part B premium going to be starting to cost? And then we want to factor in, do you have a long-term care insurance plan, and if not, how much do you need to set aside should one of you end up in a nursing home? So
Right.
that's actual budget planning.
Yeah.
We're not one of those advisors who's going to tell you that you shouldn't spend your money. I always use the phrase, you can't take it with you. We want to make sure you don't outlive it, but you want to have experiences and enjoy
Yes.
your retirement. And we want to do our job. And the sooner you come in, the easier it is to do our job and to plan.
Right.
And so for those folks that don't have a plan in place, even if you are a little bit later in life, there are still options and opportunities for you, and we're happy to sit down and talk with you.
Absolutely, because I think one of the, probably if I had to guess, one of the most fun parts about your job is when folks come in and they share their dreams with you and say, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to do with my family, or this dream trip my bucket list items, right? And then when you put together the plan, you're helping folks see what they can do.
Yep.
It's not about what you can't do. I think that puts budgeting in a more positive light, because a lot of people hear the term budget and they're like, it's kind of that B word, right?
Yep.
But it really sets you free when you
That's right.
you know what you have and you're telling your money where you want it to go.
When you can show mathematically that, in fact, they can retire, the pressure comes off. They just have it's like a sigh of relief. You can feel the air coming out. They say, "Oh my God, I've been, losing sleep. Am I going to be able to do the things I want to do?" But when they can see it mathematically, and that's oftentimes what we're doing. That's what the plan involves.
Yeah.
That, when you're 85, this is how much you should have. This is how much you should be drawing. We have an idea as to what inflation would be at that time. But that's a plan.
Right.
I have a client right now, and he was a do-it-yourselfer, and he did a great job. He also owned a business. He came to see me before retiring. He was about to sell the business and retire. And he told me, he goes, I don't want to do it myself anymore. I'm looking to find somebody that can manage this for me and take this off the table. He said, I'm not one of those people who's going to second guess everything. He goes, I want to find someone I trust. And when I find that, I would like them to manage it. And
Right.
That's how he is. Just recently, he came back from a trip climbing Mount Kilimanjaro.
Oh, wow.
In Africa.
Oh, my goodness. That's no
And
joke, right?
Yeah, you're not checking your accounts while you're climbing the mountains. I took care of all that. I hear from him every once in a while. He's just happy.
Yeah.
He was a do-it-yourselfer that did a good job, but he goes, I'm ready to be done with that now. I
Right.
want someone else to take care of that for
I'm
me,
ready
lift
to
that
transition.
burden or that worry.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm sure a lot of folks can relate to that because, a lot of people have done it themselves. And during the accumulation years, that's a little bit easier to do. But when it comes time to the distribution phase, there's so many other factors that come into play.
Yeah, we had a client, Derek and I had a shared client. He was an engineer. He retired early, prior to even Medicare. prior to even 62. And he had taken about 600,000 of assets from his wife and his account, learned how to day trade, and traded for a couple of years, and he came in with over $2.5 million.
Wow.
And he says he had bags under his eyes. He wasn't sleeping. He goes, guys, you guys need to take this off the table for me. I got lucky. We had some good luck in the market, but you guys need to take it over now because I'm not sleeping.
Right.
And so we did. We took that pressure off. But sometimes people are lucky. He was lucky. He was a smart guy.
He knew he got lucky too, which is the smart thing.
Right.
He didn't think he had it figured out.
Exactly.
But now he's enjoying his retirement. Prior to 65, he's got a health insurance plan that's jiving with his lifestyle, and his wife and he are taking vacation. It's wonderful to see. But he knew that it was time to let somebody else control it because of the distribution phase.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so grateful. I love your stories. I know you have a wealth of them. And if any of this is resonating with you, maybe you have been a do-it-yourselfer. Maybe it has kept you up at night. Wouldn't it be great to have the peace of mind of knowing that you have someone in your corner who's got your best interests at heart, who has a legal obligation to serve you and your best interests so that you can go live the life that you want, to live worry-free, as this book, Conquering Retirement, states. So we encourage you to pick up the phone and call 877-241-7430 to receive your complimentary written financial plan. You'll also receive a complimentary copy of this book. And if you'd rather, you can connect with that smart code there, just your smartphone, and scan that QR code. That will get you connected as well. We'll be back with more on Conquering Retirement right after this.
When interest rates are low, you might be able to refinance your home, your car, even your credit cards. But when interest rates go up, it may make sense to refinance your retirement. Higher interest rates could provide income opportunities you may not even be aware of. What works for you in your portfolio during low interest rates may not work for you when interest rates are high. Find out if a retirement refi could work for you. Call today for your complimentary Refi Your Retirement.
Welcome back to Conquering Retirement, where today Derek and Peter and I are discussing that it's not the same retirement today that our parents and grandparents went through. There's a lot of new challenges that all of us are facing, and we want to help you navigate those challenges. You know, I wanted to put something in perspective. We've been talking about Lance Gilman, the CEO of Northern Alliance Financial, his book, Conquering Retirement. If I may, I wanted to read the dedication in this book because I think it will really bless and touch all of you as well. He said, "This book is dedicated to the fallen servicemen and women who paid the ultimate price and will not be able to see retirement. They sacrificed their lives for us. Let us always remember, freedom is not free." And I would love for you guys to touch on, your reactions to Lance's perspective. But the thing that I took away is, yes, it's not the same retirement today, but what a blessing for those of us that get to still live and experience retirement. It's not something to be taken for granted.
It's not. And, one of the things you have to think about is you need to pull the trigger at some point and retire, because if you keep kicking the can down the road and think you never can, you might not have the opportunity to retire. Now he's talking about fallen soldiers who certainly have paid the ultimate sacrifice for our country, but I'm thinking of clients of ours who had come in, I think it was probably about a year ago, and they were concerned if they were not going to be able to retire. So we actually started to put a plan in place. They wanted to really actually set a retirement date. And they were supposed to come in 6 months so we could, put that together. And the gentleman ended up passing away tragically in an accident, an unexpected accident, and never even got the chance to retire. And, we meet obviously with the wife now, and she's trying to do some of those bucket items without him. And, it's just one of those things, you can't guarantee your health tomorrow.
Right.
And so, you really, there's a lot of worries. There's a lot of reasons not to retire, but come in, let us tell you you shouldn't retire. And if we tell you that, then no, don't retire. But we'll take a look at everything, and we'll put a plan in place and make sure that it is something that makes sense. And if not, we'll see how we can get them there.
But more often than not, I think you're telling people you're going to be okay, right? Once you've done the math, and as you said, the numbers are there.
Yep. I'm glad that you read the foreword on Lance's book. As a group, we also sponsor the Travis Mills Foundation in Maine.
The Travis Mills Foundation,
which is a version of Wounded Warriors, or it's like that, for soldiers that have been injured, that need some assistance. Their families get to come to Maine, and they do many other things. But it's a great foundation, and we've been working with them for a couple of years now. We're going to continue, and we've actually done shows with Travis Mills. That was last year at this time. But thank you to our veterans
Yes.
as well. We're proud to be Americans. Derek and I wouldn't be doing what we're doing if it wasn't, in fact, for the fact that we have people that are willing to fight for our country. My father's a veteran, and if you are a veteran, there's things that the government and the VA isn't going to go out and find you. If you were in for 4 years, let's say, and there are benefits that you can go be proactive. Get your DD-214 and go find your local VA. Let them know that you exist, and they will actually show you things that you weren't aware of, because they're not going to proactively go out to everybody that has served in the military. They don't. We found this out. My father was in the Air Force for 4 years. He had a pension, he was a banker, but there's so many benefits that were available because my sisters and I took it upon ourselves to go to the VA in Portland and say, hey, is there anything in addition to what my father is receiving now, which was nothing, And they said, oh, yes, well, we're glad to see you, we're glad you came in. Take your DD-214, go and find that information out.
That is such valuable information. I'm sure a lot of people don't even recognize or realize that that could be an option for them.
Without a doubt. You don't have to be in for 15, you don't have to be a career, you don't have to be in for 20 years. He was in for 4 years. And especially if you've served one day during any sort of a war, you don't have to have been active. It's amazing the benefits that he receives now. The VA pays before his Medicare does. We would never have known that had we not been so proactive and gone and found that out. And it's available to you, but you have to be proactive.
Right.
And there's new benefits that are coming out constantly that you may have went and checked and saw that there are no benefits that you could take advantage of at the moment, but that might change. You look at Vietnam, people with possible Agent Orange exposure and things. I mean, there's always these benefits that are popping up, and they're not looking for you to give you the benefits. You got to go in and be proactive.
You have to let them know you exist, where you
Right.
live, who you are, what a copy of your DD-214 is, where you were stationed, all that stuff, and they will take care of it. But you just got to push them a little bit.
Right, absolutely. I'm so glad that you're able to be in Folks Corner for these types of specialized situations. What percentage of your client base have served? How many veterans are you actually working with?
They're a quiet group. Oftentimes they don't say anything. Like my father, he doesn't go around advertising the fact.
Sure, right.
But so
We have quite a few, but I'd have a hard time putting a number to it. I'm not sure specifically.
Yeah.
when we held 2 of our client appreciation dinners this past winter, we brought Travis Mills. The majority of the clients that showed up, and again, it was a client appreciation. We weren't selling anything. They were so glad to see Travis Mills, and they didn't know that we were sponsoring the Travis Mills Foundation.
Wow.
But they were bringing friends, and I didn't realize that this organization is that big on veterans assistance. So I would say quite a few.
I love that. Well, thank you guys so much for being here, and thank Lance for me too. I've missed seeing him recently, but I know it's a team effort. And Rich, just remind our viewers where all you are located in Maine.
We are a fiduciary financial services firm located all over the state of Maine. Peter and I are in the southern Maine location. We have offices in the central and northern Maine. If you'd like to come in for a consultation and put a plan in place for yourself or see what sort of pitfalls you may be looking at, give us a call. We're happy to help.
Wonderful. We love you, Maine. Be safe, be happy, be blessed. We look forward to being back with you next time on Conquering Retirement.